The thing you used to do on your phone that was considered rude is now just commonplace. It's no longer rude. When you text instead of call, it used to be considered rude, believe it or not. But now
it's so hard to remember back then.
I know.
What do you mean? It was rude to text somebody?
Yeah, because it was like, oh, it's just...
You can't answer your phone?
You can't answer, and also you don't think it's important enough, or this doesn't warrant a phone call.
Well, now I think it's rude when somebody calls me and doesn't text.
Exactly. It's become commonplace. Now when people call, you're like, oh, why?
I think it's an emergency or there's a problem, all that.
I wait until you leave a message.
Yeah. I mean, unless you call like back to back, I'm like, okay.
I mean, there's certain numbers that I will answer no matter what.
I mean, if I know you call, I'm like, there's got to be something. It's got to be important.
Yes. I remember when texting first happened, my phone, I didn't have it for a while. And if somebody would text me, it would cost my parents like a lot of money.
Yeah.
I remember our phone bill one month was like $50 more. And it's because I got like 4 texts from people.
Remember when you couldn't talk after 9?
Or 7.
Yeah.
Or 7?
Well, 9 was, and then they moved it back to 7.
Yep.
You're like, man, I got that night and weekend plan. You're like, and people get mad, like, don't call me before 7.
Don't you dare.
It's 6:58. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Think I'm rich? Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah. Yes. And then we weren't allowed to talk on the phone that late anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we had a rule growing up where it was like, absolutely, do not call this house. Do not call my phone. No.
Now,
Go ahead. I was going to say, if anyone
Mm-hmm.
called the house like after 9, like on a week or anytime, people are like, what is happening?
Somebody better be dead.
Yeah.
A lot of times now, if somebody wants to call me, they'll text me to say, hey, I need to talk to you.
Yep.
So then now we're doing a text and then to expect the call.
Yes.
I like a warning. I do. I like it's a heads up. Just let me know.
A lot of times it's spam. I get tons of spam the whole time. So if I don't recognize the number, it's 90% of the time about my car warranty or something. But it's the worst when you have to call like a doctor's calling you back or a handyman's calling you back because then you got to answer everything.
Yeah.
I always answer the phone like this. Hello? I do that.
Because you're insane.
Right.
I do that because then I just pretend I don't understand and hang up.
What about people who know you? They're like, what are you doing?
Hello?
Well, if they say something, I'm like, oh, okay, hey, how you doing?
What's up?
That's maybe under disguise.
Yeah. My husband, because he's in sales,
he
answers
has
his
to.
phone all the time.
Yeah.
And I hear him, I mean, way more than ever before, where it is, no, thanks, I'm not interested. Because he just has to pick up. He never knows. Like, is it going to be from a dental office? Is it going to be from a doctor and personal time? I see you're going to make a joke. I'm ready. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm holding myself back from a personal thing that I know I shouldn't say.
Oh.
I'm saying, but does he have the He doesn't do the Bluetooth in the ear, does he?
No.
Okay, God.
He does not own
It's
a
extremely
Bluetooth.
nerdy. All right.
He doesn't.
There's somebody I know that does that. I'm like,
True.
no one is that busy.
Oh, nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody has that
Drew.
one.
I was thinking about somebody
Sorry,
else.
Drew and Gary. And
Yeah.
No. he
Gary
does
gets a
not.
pass because
He's older.
of his generation.
Sure.
We'll
Yeah.
say his generation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He may have served in World War I. I don't know. I don't know what generation. That's the greatest generation, right? Or is it World War II?
God bless him and thank
World
him
War
I
for
know. That's what I'm
his
saying.
service.
Let me get to it. Thank you for your service, Gary. I don't know if he has military service background or not, but it seems like he could. Drew, no reason for it.
None.
None.
Drew, none.
You weren't in Desert Storm.
Mm-mm.
No.
And by the way, Drew, when I call you, you always tell me why you're not coming in. So,
I guess
no offense.
Does he sleep with it in? Because I swear we call him at 4 in.
He's got it in.
And he answers. He's like, boop. Hello.
It's been surgically attached to his eardrum.
I don't
We
know.
were making jokes how he should have 2 of them. And he's like talking both sides.
One for business, one for personal.
Hi, this is Drew. This is
The
Drew.
right ear is
This Drew.
personal. The left ear is business.
All business.
Hold on, I'm getting a work call. Hold on a second.
No, my husband does not do that. Thank God. I would probably have
well,
to
it's
divorce
the
him.
worst because I can't tell you how many times I run into the office. I start talking to the person and they're talking, and I think they're talking to me back.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
talking to somebody else. I had no idea you were on a call.
Or when people talk to you and you have your AirPods in and I don't hear a word you're saying at all. I just don't even acknowledge you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a gripe I have with my kids now. Is that we get in the car,
Uh-huh.
and it used to be like we're all listening to the same thing, or we take turns, maybe picking different things, or
Sure.
listening to the station, or whatever we're doing. And now I'll be like, yeah, so Eli, you got basketball practice, and we're gonna do this, and I go through the whole day, whatever. And I look over, and he's like, what?
Oh.
He has his AirPods in, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't hear a word. His
Doesn't hear?
noise canceling. I'm like, Eli, and he's like, what? He takes one out. I'm like, can you just not have it in while our 5-minute drive? I'm trying to explain something to you. and he like hit pause on his phone.
But it's that, like, gotta be entertained 24 hours a day.
Yes,
you know?
I'm talking to the whole car, and everyone has their headphones on.
From now on, you should just be like, well, I told you earlier. Sorry you didn't hear it.
Yeah, I know.
And then he sits at school all night.
It was usually a
'cause-
chore he's supposed to do.
Oh, true.
You take out the trash? Yeah, I got it.
Have you tried leaving him someplace? Like, I told you this morning in the car. Maybe you'll start listening.
Yeah, listen. Yeah.
Well, another thing that used to seem like bad manners, like that people would see you do it or you would be doing it and you'd think, oh, this is bad manners. But now it's just totally socially acceptable, scrolling at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's totally acceptable. I think that's definitely we're trying to avoid that.
But I think most people would say, yeah, it happens. And
It
it's
does happen.
becoming, I mean, you go to a restaurant and you see almost everybody on their phones.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that then.
I do too, but it's becoming more and more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's cool if you're by yourself, but if you're with somebody else, come on.
Yeah, because you're by yourself. You don't look up and see all the happiness of people that actually have friends. And so then you can just look down and pretend your life's okay. Not me, other people.
Yeah.
Why look up and see happiness when you can look down your phone and in this fake world that doesn't exist?
It's an interesting take, Jared.
That's why I don't eat alone.
I was going to say I had 5 minutes to myself and I get to finish my show in silence.
No.
Oh, all right. We different worlds.
Oh, no.
Different lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing that used to seem like bad manners but is now socially acceptable, ignoring unexpected visitors to your home.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Before, if the doorbell rang, you answered
Yep.
it.
Yep.
You answered that door. Now
Now
we're
you
like,
get your gun.
hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I hide.
Oh,
Everyone be quiet. Don't move.
Yes.
It's really put a dent on our missionary efforts for our church.
What do they do?
They do a lot of
Like looking in
appointment
window?
type. Yeah, looking at windows.
Oh, right.
Throwing in smoke bombs
Hello?
in your house, so you have to run out. No, I mean I think they do a lot of online stuff to get appointments, and they have like.
Did they
actual
get
appointments?
appointments?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean it's the fastest growing church in America for a long time.
I know, but it must be hard to be like, would you like to have an appointment so you can hear about our religion? Ugh.
To learn more
Anyway.
about God to improve your
There's
life.
Some,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously people are open to it.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, cold calling. Sorry, Jason. We
It's
call
hard.
it tracking,
Mhm.
tracting. But it's like that's the worst because, I mean, you're interrupting people's day, and as missionaries, we hated doing it. I did it very little.
Mm-hmm.
Always had a referral.
when I lived with my parents, we lived on a very rural street, but I remember if somebody rang the doorbell, it was okay, comment, or if somebody had a breakdown, and it would be very normal for that.
Mm-hmm.
But when the doorbell rang there, and unless it was a Amazon driver, it is like, what's going on? Be ready. Are they trying to break in? Who's trying to do? That's what because it was very common for salespeople also go to the door. Very common. Selling
Yes.
things.
Yes, that's how Tupperware got its start. Door to door, Avon, that sort of thing. But now,
There's
Nope.
a guy I was eating at is it Viva Chicken, and we're sitting there eating. It was Anna and friend Sal just the other day for lunch, and this guy, I gave him credit. I was like, we should hire him here. He came by the table, well dressed, young guy, and he had these bags, promotional bags. I thought he was going to give it to us. So I have this, and this. Everyone likes socks. Everyone likes this. He has this whole pitch
In the restaurant?
Yeah, and I was like, Viva Chicken did not know this was happening.
yeah, I don't like that.
I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
I'm sitting down. He's like standing next to me, pitching me on this thing. I'm like,
So how much did you buy?
yeah.
He's now an investor. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I did. He said, if you give me $10,000 now, I'm like, what? No, and he put the bag on the table, and he's like, my card's on there and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe this is like a sample thing. I'm like, fine. And he goes, normally 50, today's 25. I'm like, handed the bag
You
back.
may have this back.
But he went outside, and by the time we left, he had sold like all his bags. He sold
Wow.
like 20 bags.
What was in there?
It's like some custom soap things, shoes, socks, and there's like some merchandise. He makes like custom things. I did not like that at all. I'm sitting there trying to eat lunch, and somebody's pitching me. Viva Chicken did not have any idea that was going on. But by the time I went outside, he sold all of them.
Yeah.
People at Viva Chicken were buying it, so other people were buying it. He was I give you I don't like it, but I give you credit for having the boldness to go up to people like that.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do.
Why don't we? You should have given him a card.
I thought about it.
or something.
Sal was trying to hire him at
Yeah.
Budget Blinds. He's like, this dude is, because he was very polite, and and when we said no, he's like, oh yeah, no problem. This is my
If
website.
you can sell that in that type of circumstance, you could probably sell anything.
Like, I don't know, can you sell the #1 morning show? Or go to Viva Chicken and sell table to table. One seems easier.
I don't know.
One seems easier.
Yeah, people do that sometimes in the grocery store. If you've ever been walking up and down the aisles, and every once in a while, someone will just out of nowhere appear, and they're like, "Hey, can I?" No. That makes me feel very uncomfortable. You know?
It does.
No
Like when
thanks.
you're walking by and you see the cell phone people there ready to sign you up for a cell phone, and you
Yeah.
walk by.
You
I
talking
already have
about-
one. I already have it. But I have that.
I have one.
Talk about at Costco when they do that to
They
you.
do
that.
Yeah, I just don't
I
make
don't
eye
like that.
contact. I don't like it either.
The knives.
Yeah.
Although I can get tricked into buying
But
some
then-
knives, obviously.
But they yell at you from afar,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Excuse
hey,
me.
I see what you have in your cart. You might need to cut that later.
That's a good one. I will tell you, Costco's not nearly as bad as because
No.
there's only one or two as. And I haven't been to an inside mall in a very long time.
Oh,
the
But the
yeah.
mall started getting horrendous. You
Yes.
couldn't walk 2 steps without them coming up to you, almost putting like lotion in your hand.
Yeah, or spraying you with something.
Yes.
Ugh.
You're like, this lotion's from the Middle East. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't. No,
Yeah.
thank you. And then finally, one other thing that used to be considered bad manners. Maybe you were being very rude if you did it, but now it's just commonplace. Quitting a job without 2 weeks' notice. It is becoming so popular.
Really?
Mhm. Yep. There's also like the quiet quitting, which I think goes hand in hand, where you're slowly detaching. You're slowly pulling yourself back from that job, and then boom, you put in your notice, or you don't.
Well, isn't that burning a bridge though?
A
Because
little bit.
It could be, but some people are like, well, I don't need that
I
anyway.
mean, like, I don't ever want to work there, but yeah.
Yeah.
And most people aren't that forward thinking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
That too.
Yeah.
for the 2 week was a standard, but for a while to really be I guess better for relationships, it was 3 weeks. 2 weeks would be the standard, but then you give them extra weeks so they were on their feet.
I think that putting in your notice is a two-way street, and especially if your company is going to rely on you to train maybe somebody coming in,
Yeah.
is that you have to be on good terms for that to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do find it funny, how it's just things are just part of our culture.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, if you're leaving, give us a 2 week notice. But if they're going to lay you off, they just do
They
it.
don't-
Let's
Yeah.
do it on a Friday,
Yeah.
and you're
Mhm.
like, where's my
You're
notice?
right about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends if a company's giving out severance. That's a different thing because basically you are still employed, not doing anything, getting money.
If you're getting severance, but
Yeah.
a lot of people just get laid off and it's nothing,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, but you better give us a 2 week notice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just baked into our culture where
Yeah.
we never even think about that part.
That's right.
Yeah, if you're working at well, it depends. Maybe if you're a manager at McDonald's and they lay you off, they would give you some severance, but good chance they might not. If you're a cashier at McDonald's and you would let them give them 2 weeks, but they would just fire you or lay you off, and you would not even. I'm not just saying McDonald's. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
sure.
that type of job. They might not give you anything.
Or your hourly employee, even like in our industry, and they do like massive layoff. I don't
Yeah.
think
There's no heads up.
if you're not contracted. I don't know. I guess every company's different.
Well, a lot of them are giving something.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
And I got to say, too, that I feel like more and more, we talk about tip culture and how people are getting so aggravated. And I'm one of them. Every turn, it's, if you could just answer a couple questions on that screen. I know exactly what you're asking me. Do I get a tip? And the answer is no, because I just did everything myself.
Right.
You don't
But
tip?
It depends on where we are. If
Oh.
I'm at a sit-down restaurant, 100%, and you're getting 20% no matter what.
Right.
That's just how that goes. But if I'm going through a line,
You don't tip.
I know. I
Really?
went through a line, and then they flip a thing over, and then they say, tip me.
Yeah, there's a restaurant that I go to often that they have that. Now, I might not tip 20, 25%. I might go to 10.
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
No. I also feel like I feel okay with that decision. Like just the other day, I went into a local salad making place.
Yes, I know.
And I don't think that one person in there has smiled in the past 5 years of their lives. I mean, every single person. It's not the same place you're thinking
No,
of.
but it's not. It's a friendly one.
Oh yeah, at Friendly.
Let's not do a
Yeah.
bearded goat thing again.
Yeah, let's not.
I just kind of did it.
But it was no, that wasn't that. That was a previous time.
That was a long time ago.
But
like, don't say Jesus like says everything but it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did not smile one bit.
Yeah.
Everybody looked like they were angry.
Yeah.
And then I paid $17 for a salad, and I thought, stupid me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I'm never coming back here.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
looked miserable, every single one of them. And they do not go out of their way. There's not a hi, how are you? Thank you for coming in. What can I get you? It's like next.
All right. What about though when you
Yeah.
order, like for instance, online? I'll order online, and before you even get it and know the service, it's asking you for a tip. I typically tip because I want it to be ready by the time I get there.
No.
Really?
I don't know why Kay's such a bad tipper.
I have an excellent. If anything, I tip too much.
Right.
If any, I mean, truly, because I've worked in food service.
Right.
I get it. I know.
Yeah, if you order something online for them to have ready for you to pick up, you don't give them something?
Well, like at Target or
Where
Walmart?
are we
No,
talking?
like Core Life. I order on my
I don't
app.
do that. I don't order, like if I'm going to go to a restaurant, I'm going in and I'm sitting down to eat
Oh,
it.
like if
I
you
don't-
order like on the app ahead of time, even like at Chick-fil-A, you would tip?
Well,
Because you do order ahead of time.
yeah, but Chick-fil-A has like this system that's coming out one after another, and I know that the certain restaurants that take a lot more to prepare is I want it to be ready by the time I get there, so I want them to put a little oomph
I don't.
into it.
I really don't find myself in that situation.
No.
We have pizza
No.
delivered, and then if I'm going out to lunch, or I'll just go out to lunch and sit there. I don't
Okay.
have anything.
Yeah, I go pick it up. I'm not paying for convenience.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm going to pick it up, that's the point of picking up is not to pay the tip.
Yeah.
Well,
That too.
When I do it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a rush. I got to pick it up and bring it back or something. So I want to make sure they get it ready quick.
Do they always? I mean, is it guaranteed?
No,
Do they always have it ready?
They don't put a little oomph in it.
I just have this thought that if I put some little tip to it, that's going to help. Same with like Instacart or something like that.
Oh, I tip on Instacart.
I think the better the tip, the better service.
Maybe.
It's a
Could-
different way of
yeah.
tipping because you're pre-tipping. You're not tipping after the fact, although you can do that too.
Which I've definitely done before. You know, like I do a pre-tip because it's part of the deal, my pre-tip.
Right.
And then I will add a couple bucks at the end, especially if they've gone out of their way.
Yeah.
But I'm always tipping because I enjoy that service, and I'm paying for that convenience.
Right.
And with Uber, because when Uber first came, they wouldn't
No
allow
tips.
you to tip.
Right.
But now they let you tip. I forget sometimes. I walk out, and then until my next Uber ride, like a month later, it'll say, "Would you like to tip John?" I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I don't want the bad rating, so I don't know. I always tip so I don't get a bad rating.
Okay.
But I don't think they can rate you after you submit your tip, though, right? Because
Not-
then
not after
that'd be
the-
retroactively. Because anytime they get something bad, they would just say, "Oh, you know what I mean?"
Well, I'm thinking if I do the tip,
I don't know how that works.
ahead of time, then they might.
I see.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're tipped out though.
Yeah.
People are tipped out. And
Especially when you're going through a
They
line.
they
you
say the
know?
norm now is 20%. It used to be 15, and if it was extra good service, 20%. Now it's 20%, and if it's really good, 25. Look at all the screens. All the screens sometimes start at 20.
at 20%. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
you're
go
like-
to
And then
22,
you feel
the
bad when
24.
you're doing
Yes.
the lowest one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll switch to custom in that situation.
Or just hit no.
Set my own.
yeah, you're like, I'll do $1.
But the problem is a lot of these employees depend on these tips.
Yeah.
And it's different in different countries. In Europe, it's not really custom. If you do, it's special, and it's like up to 10%. So that sometimes it creates a conflict when they visit America because they're not tipping. But vice versa. My dad went to France one time years ago, probably 15 years ago, and left a tip. The girl came running out saying you left all your money on the table. She
Yeah.
had no idea.
Isn't that funny how the cultures are different?
Also, like if you're relying on the tip because that is part of your income, then maybe a smile and a hey,
No, I get
Thanks
Yeah,
for
that.
maybe
coming
some
in
good
would-
customer service would help.
you know,
Yeah.
goes both ways.
Yeah,
I would.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alec Baldwin said his ex-wife's boyfriend.
No, his wife's
I'm sorry.
ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
You're right. His